We want to tell you a story about a land where it blessed with abundance of diversity and infused with warmth. In this land, you will witness wonders beyond sight that will conjure an everlasting awe for everyone who takes the journey further. This distinction will be represented through the 3 chapters of this series. This is Bandung and its villages. Our first chapter begins in my hometown Ciwidey. Though it's already known as a tourism icon from Bandung, we will steer you away from all that to the blacksmith village. And even then, we are still going off track to the small alley, going uphill through the woods, cemetery, going right and left, and finally, you'll meet a somewhat hidden master bladesmith that his blades are exported to Australia, Taiwan, US, and many European cities. This is Kang Isang. He's the 7th generation of his blacksmith bloodline ancestry. Reconnecting the link that temporarily disconnected from his mother, today he's the owner of a bladesmith workshop named Sangkala Domas. This is a story of how he revived the bloodline using growth and modern ways, and ultimately, he found himself in a world unreached before by any bladesmith from his hometown. Kenapa namanya Sangkala Domas?
Nah, jadi nama Sangkala Domas itu berasal dari kata sangkala itu adalah waktu. Sedangkan Domas itu memang nama dari buyut saya yang bernama Eyang Domas. Punya rencana untuk diri saya itu one blade one man. Jadi satu orang, satu desain dia tidak punya di orang lain dan orang lain juga nggak punya untuk desain dia gitu. Walaupun desainnya mirip tapi tetap aja beda. Kenapa? Walaupun pemikirannya sama tetap beda. Karena prinsip saya itu saya nggak pakai pola. Walaupun misal sama bentuknya Bowie atau apa, itu tetap prinsip saya dipakai one blade one man. Gitu kan. Jadi intinya limited edition, setiap bikinan saya itu limited edition. Gitu.
Tanpa punya request pengen sama,
Nggak bisa,
tetap bisa.
tetap nggak bisa.
This new touch also is necessary to endure such ever-changing world we live in today. And he will guide us to see how he craft a blade and how his workflow looks like, especially since he's a one-man operation.
Pertama-tama saya akan menjelaskan dari bahan apa saja yang saya gunakan. Untuk kebanyakan yang lebih umum dari bahan bilah itu adalah per. Kebanyakan per itu seperti ini. Ini adalah per bekas.
This is where it's getting interesting. So, the first touch is his brilliance is shown through his insight about metals, almost any kind of metals, not just the spring. You might assume he's using a basic approach because he's not equipped with formal engineering education, he's a blacksmith deep in a rural village, and so on. But on the contrary, his knowledge regarding metallurgy is so sophisticated. He's able to explain metals and their characteristics, the heat sign, etc. that he made a connection with lecturers and engineering scholars such as Polban and ITB, who sees him with high regard.
Kalau kita mengetahui baja itu untuk apa, pada akhirnya kita akan menggunakan bilahnya itu untuk peruntukan awalnya. Kayak per, karena per itu untuk pegas, dia otomatis kena benturan, kena apa, dia kuat. Untuk bilah, untuk chopping, untuk untuk nebang, untuk apa. Jadi kita tahu, oh ini tuh bilah kuat. Nah seperti itu. Oh ini udah 2 untuk matras, dibikin matras aja nggak chipping, nggak rolling, nggak tek bengek. Berarti
The
bisa
clip was a little highlight part about his insight because the problem is we found it hard to make him explain his insight when he is consciously getting filmed. Somehow he is able to say things like this in a candid-like environment. He doesn't only master metallurgy, he deeply like it. We could see him passionately express that he likes a different kind of sparks color and appearance produced from various materials. After selecting the metals, the next part is forging. Essentially heat the metals to be able to bend it, to shape it. The insight benefit him to do this efficiently.
Dari D2 kemudian D3 Slipner. Jadi ada titik ratanya, kayak suhu tempatnya itu ada titik rata. Ada kendalanya itu yang menjadikan beda setiap baja itu karena kandungan, mungkin ada kandungan stainless, kemudian vanadiumnya, kemudian ada wolfram dan tek-tek bengeknya itu silikon dan lainnya itu yang berbeda. Nah, ada yang cepat dingin, ada yang sama. Nah, itu yang menjadikan beda setiap baja itu karena kandungan setiap baja itu pasti beda. Makanya ada yang cepat dingin, ada yang panasnya tetap, kemudian ada yang lama panasnya, ada yang, nah itu yang menjadikan bedanya.
He recognized that even a university textbook doesn't really specify at how much a Celsius a metal breaks, and he knows it precisely through the experience he had. If the metals are too hot, they break. If the metals are too cold and we keep forging it, it won't shape. So there is a small window of time to do the forging each time the metals need to be reheated.
Nah, ini dia bisa ditempa di suhu 1050. Nah, ini lihat, kelihatan kan? Bisa
Berubah bentuk dikit ya.
Nah, kemudian ini lihat ada menghitam. Tuh?
Ya.
Nah, kita tempa, lihat. Ada bekasnya nggak?
Enggak.
Nah, itulah perubahannya.
The forging pace required hours, even weeks to finish. So knowledge isn't enough. Consistency is also the key. After that, we required a grinder and sandpaper to further craft the blades. Those spaces require focus and exact knowledge of which sandpaper to use because, as we know, each sandpaper coat got a different level of roughness. We use the grinder first for beveling. This will shape the blade further, especially the edge. Then we will sharpen the blade. By the way, can we appreciate how he turns this block of metals or this various shape, even scrap chainsaw steel to this whole definite shape? But the shape isn't enough. This forging, beveling, and sharpening leaves the blades with dull or blackish color. The next part is to shine it. Quenching is the final phase. This phase is crucial to make the blade harden and ready to use. Usually, there is three medium of quenching, that is air, water, and oil. Although he adapts modern ways, he still shows respect to legacy way by explaining them logically. In the past, bladesmiths simply quenched the blade to a banana tree, which got this layer onion-like structure. He explained why and adapt the technique for his benefit.
Yang namanya batang pisang itu berlapis-lapis kayak bawang kan. Saat dimasukkan benda panas, dia akan mengering. Dan Tapi beberapa detik kemudian akan datang lagi air. Yes, mengering lagi. Yes, mengering lagi. Apa bedanya dengan kita celup dengan temperatur dan tekanan yang ada di lapisan bawang itu sama? Yes. Apa bedanya? Tapi yang menentukan adalah tangan dan kecekatan mata kita. Nah itu, kalau gebogan secara alamiah.
Even more impressive that he produced his own wooden handle and leather sheath. So he's the real one-man army. We already see that he's faithful to his work. Therefore, he prioritizes quality than quantity. So he can expect a slight differences in price, especially compared to competitors around who produce blades in massive amounts. His blade could start at 1.5 to 2 times more than the others. One time, he even sold a sword for 8 million Indonesian rupiah because it's 80 centimeters long and requires weeks to forge and grind. His trademark present in the logo, the Garuda. He implemented this shape in most of his handles and implemented some wavy texture around the lower part of the blade. Together, they are known as the Wave Garuda. He already shaped his own brand identity and connection. He could still sell his blade through Taiwan, the US, across Europe, and Australia.
Ke Taiwan juga, Amerika Blackburn, fotonya di Itali, Washington, ke Illinois.
He still has plenty of loyal customers thanks to his resilience, determination, and innovation. He never gives up hope and always paves another way to strive. Currently, Kang Isan owns the brand through crafting his own YouTube channel. You can check it on the description along with his Instagram gallery, which you can see his masterpieces. And if you are interested like I did, you can contact him directly and buy it, or even manifest your dream blade. Adapting the present doesn't mean we disrespect the legacy. In some ways, it could amplify its value.